in this video we're going to talk about alchemy, because alchemy is such a profound thing to engage in. If you're serious about health, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much every form of taking care of your health is some form of alchemy. But for the most part, people don't know that. Anytime you take something that is in one state and perfect it into something better, that's a process of alchemy. It's known as transmutation. When you transmute something, which is a largely alchemical term, you take something from one state and you exalt it into something better. A perfect example of this is water distillation, folks. You're taking water from the tap, which in most cities is filled full of chlorine, disinfectant byproducts, garbage, scaling lime, algicides, cobalts, radioactive elements. You know, it's just insane how much garbage is actually in there. All the inorganic calcium that just cakes inside of you and gets stuck in you. Water distillation, when you distill a gallon of that tap water, you're exposing it to chaos. There's bubbling in the boil kettle, and all of the rising steam begins to condense inside of a coil inside of the distiller. It travels up the coil, and all the heavy impurities are too heavy to rise with the purifying steam that's condensing, and the distilled water collects in a collection jar, and you're left with just pure H2O. You've taken something that was relatively impure and filled full of garbage, and you've turned it into something clean. That is a perfect example of an alchemical process, a transmutation process. So I really want to drive that term in because it's really important to understand. Transmutation is a largely alchemical term. We use that in alchemy often to describe a process of purification. And what is purification, ladies and gentlemen? Purification is when you take something that has things that are impure or not pure, and you get rid of the things that aren't pure and you turn it into something better or pure. That was kind of a word soup. Let me see if we can come up with a better definition. When we take something that has impurities and we distill or remove them, that is transmutation. That is the purification process, ladies and gentlemen. So in a sense, all forms of taking care of your health are indeed an alchemical process, because you're rooting and finding the parts of yourself that need to be changed, and then through practicing health, you go about changing those things. So for instance, if you overeat and you wanted to lose weight, you would transmute yourself by finding the problem. Okay, I'm overeating these certain foods, or I should stop. I'm eating way too late at night. And in finding the problem, you locate it, you let go of it, and then you ride it out and you experience the benefits. You transmute yourself because you're no longer exposing yourself to the process that is creating the state of impurity. So alchemy is something that is incredibly important to anyone who is interested in truly regaining the complete control of his or her mind. So there, again, like I said earlier, there's multiple levels of alchemy, ladies and gentlemen. And most people are practicing alchemy on a daily basis without even knowing it. It's really windy out here, folks. So one thing I get asked often is about Kundalini, because I talk about it often. Because Kundalini, ladies and gentlemen, is the absolute highest point of human health. Enlightenment is the true meaning of health. It's the true purpose of life as well, ladies and gentlemen, to experience Gnosis, which is just another fancy term for Kundalini. But I get asked a lot about Kundalini. How do we get closer to this energy? How do we raise it? How do we begin to experience it? How do we contact it? Is there any particular methods that we can utilize to raise this energy again? Alchemy is the key, ladies and gentlemen. Now, some of this stuff may not make sense right now at the beginning of this video, but hopefully as this video progresses, you'll begin to understand why I say that alchemy is the key to raising Kundalini. So if you look at old alchemical textbooks, ladies and gentlemen, if you study alchemy at all, you'll come to find, especially in the older materials, that there's multiple depictions within alchemy of serpents, of dragons, of androgynous figures, pelicans, roses, specific numerology and all this stuff. There's a lot of alchemy, at least the old medieval alchemists, ladies and gentlemen, they wrote down their secrets in the form, in a way that is symbolic. It's archetypal. It speaks to the subconscious. And that's why if you look at old alchemy books and try to look at the pictures and whatnot, you'll just be baffled you'll just be confused. It's like, what the hell does this stuff mean? But if you research the symbols, if you research, even on a surface level, what these symbols represent, such as a body with two heads on it, one that's female, one that's man, or two dragons intertwining, ladies and gentlemen, and reaching the top of where they're intertwined, and there's angel wings. This is all symbolism of Kundalini. And that was what the ancient alchemists, at least the ones that knew what they were seeking, were doing. They were trying to raise the Kundalini energy, because Gnosis, ladies and gentlemen, or enlightenment, again, Gnosis is just another term for enlightenment, or Kundalini, they're all the same. Gnosis, Kundalini, enlightenment, nirvana, samadhi, is how we actually activate the immortality gene within our systems. It's how we come into contact with everything that the ancient alchemists were seeking. Essentially, most alchemists, ladies and gentlemen, were obsessed with turning base metals to gold. They were obsessed with enlightenment. They were obsessed with immortality and attaining supernatural powers. This is all stuff that is attained through the Kundalini rising and staying lit, ladies and gentlemen. And what I mean by that is staying activated in your within your system. Unfortunately, due to how unhealthy we are and how programmed we are subconsciously, our body and our minds do not have the type of fortitude and energetic reserves to be able to withstand the purifying fire of Kundalini for more than just a few seconds. It's that powerful. I don't think most people really realize just how powerful this energy is. It's terrifyingly powerful. Let's let the wind pass, ladies and gentlemen. What this energy can allow you to do is beyond words. The amount of strength that this energy bestows to you is beyond words. I'm talking about being able to attain supernatural powers that would make the stuff that you see on the television and with superheroes and all that stuff seem like just nonsensical and stupid. We were designed to be an angelic human, ladies and gentlemen, part human, part angel. And this is done through the Kundalini rising. Our overall architecture, our blueprint, was not to be these little slaves working here like little drone ants for the queen, for the colony. This is insane. This is a ridiculous situation that we've all fallen into. But most people will never really realize that because they just go along with the system. Humans, for as amazing as we are and for as much potential as we have, ladies and gentlemen, we sure are stupid. And we are a very herd-based, hive mind oriented species. And if we're led in the wrong direction, we as a group can really get drenched in that. And unfortunately, quite a long time ago, all the wrong people got all of the power, set up their little matrix system, and indoctrinated multiple generations of people, or of humans. And now we, you and I, the viewers, we are the byproduct of an ancestry of multiple generations of programming, subconsciously, physically, genetically. There's all sorts of programs that exist not only within our own minds, it exists within our genetic material, ladies and gentlemen, within our cells, within our ancestral gene codes, within our blood. This is why it's really difficult for people to break through here in this world, ladies and gentlemen, and truly attain Gnosis, to truly attain enlightenment, to truly raise the Kundalini. It requires you to break multiple generations of resistance to this energy. It requires you to break multiple bonds to genetic slavery. Slavery of the mind, ladies and gentlemen. So alchemy is the supreme science of raising the Kundalini. It's a system of purification. And there's really no, well, there's multiple different ways that you can begin practicing alchemy, ladies and gentlemen. But getting out in nature is one of the first steps. Grounding yourself to the earth. Spending the majority of your time outdoors if you can do it. That alone will shift your consciousness massively. Let's let the wind pass. Doing the energy gathering techniques that I talked about in yesterday's video, it may seem kind of silly to some people, but it is absolutely valid. I'm going to talk in a future video about how to stimulate your rods and cones, ladies and gentlemen, so that you can begin to see the subtle energy around all creatures that emit an electromagnetic field, an aura. Our eyes have been very conditioned, and our rods and cones don't operate the way that they're supposed to. There are ways to begin reprogramming our eyes so that we can take in more of the electromagnetic spectrum and the color spectrum and see past the programming. So once you realize that everything emits energy, you'll start to see the validity in gathering energy and doing energy gathering techniques, which is one of multiple different pieces to the alchemical puzzle of regaining your energy, regaining your true self, ladies and gentlemen, going back to your higher self. From a very young age, we started losing our energy. First and foremost, by having our assemblage point relocated and fixed into a new position. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please go back and watch my older videos here on the Patreon page about the assemblage point. I explain this in great detail, what it is, how it works, how it affects us. But due to the fact that our assemblage point has been put into a completely unnatural position, we start to bleed energy out of our electromagnetic field, and the assemblage point is part of our electromagnetic field, our auric template, folks. So, in layman's terms, and to keep things really simple, you can imagine or envision the human being with as being a human being, or being an object inside of a golden orb or golden egg. Now, what happens when you poke holes into an eggshell, ladies and gentlemen? The egg whites start to flow out. Now, the golden orb around us is just a simplified way of envisioning what I just told you about. That's an aura. I'm trying to get you to envision this. The aura is much more complicated than just a sphere around you, however, but I'm trying to keep things simple. So due to this repositioning and reshifting and relocating, and again, fixation of our assemblage point, our sphere around us takes on holes and begins to bleed energy. When we experience massive amounts of stress, we bleed energy outside of our aura, our electromagnetic field, ladies and gentlemen. This can be seen on Kirlian photography. There's a handful of ways to actually see this happening, ladies and gentlemen. We emit energy like solar flares when we're under immense amounts of stress or anger, fear, even excitement. And if we don't have a system of containing this energy out of the holes that have been punctured in our auric field, it bleeds out of us and we lose energy out of our organs, ladies and gentlemen. We lose energy out of our blood, out of our mind. We start to get tired quicker as we age. We have fatigue. Believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, but this machine, this body, was designed to live far past 200 years old. When God is present, when the Kundalini is present, nothing is impossible. But they've got us in these boxes, losing our energy constantly because we live in an energy farm for the archon. It takes our energy, steals it, and then feeds on our distilled human energy, all of our anger. It's exponential, the degree at how much energy we lose and how much of it is utilized by the predatory non-organic beings. If you don't, check out a book called The Eagle's Gift, I think it's called, by Carlos Castaneda. Don Juan Matus, the Yaqui Indian sorcerer, talks in detail about a hierarchy of predatory non-organic beings that feed off of human energy, ladies and gentlemen, but due to the fact that our assemblage point has been shifted, and because of that we can't see past certain blinders within the electromagnetic spectrum, these particular entities are no longer visible to us because we can't see past our blinders. So they have a field day with us. On top of that, ladies and gentlemen, it has been my own vision and projection, and based on visions and deep meditations, that the archon has set up literal grids within the God grid, that as our energy is distilled, or as our energy leaves our energetic field, it goes through our energetic field and gets tapped, or it gets connected to like a lattice work of energy that's been installed on the 4th and 5th dimensions throughout the entire matrix. What I'm trying to describe is really difficult, ladies and gentlemen, but basically it's like an invisible electromagnetic fence that we can walk through, and it's part of the God grid. The God grid ladies and gentlemen, is a vast array, an infinite array of intelligent fibers, filaments, and spiritual energies and consciousness that holds this entire physical dimension together. It's a very simplified way of explaining it. I don't want to talk about it right now, ladies and gentlemen, but basically it's like the omni field. It connects all living life forms and it holds everything together. It binds all of consciousness together. So we have an electromagnetic field around us, but outside of us, ladies and gentlemen, there's an energy field. It's called John Kreider calls it the dark sea, I believe, in many of his books. But based on my own meditations, it appears that the archon and his legions of energy farmers have set up within the God grid this vast array of these energy siphoning filaments that are intelligent and actually siphon out human energy out of our electromagnetic fields, and then it goes through this vast array of fibers and filaments and gets fed to the archon. Unfortunately, I need a diagram to explain that, ladies and gentlemen, so apologies for it might not make sense. I can see it in my mind's eye, but unfortunately sometimes it's difficult to translate these things into words. But let's just get away from that and talk about how alchemy, ladies and gentlemen, is all about the acquisition of real power, and real power can only come from you reattaining lost energy. And we've all lost energy from a handful of different factors, such as but not limited to the repositioning and relocation and refixing of the assemblage point. We lose energy through being caught up in the matrix. We lose energy through worrying about things that really we shouldn't be worrying about at all this surface level nonsense and drama here in the matrix with friends and family, stuff that at the end of the day means nothing. All this drama and arguing over bullshit, over politics, over just stuff, again, that doesn't really, you don't need to be focused on that. We lose energy from multiple sources, from eating the wrong foods, from lack of sleep especially. Ever since about the early 1900s, ladies and gentlemen, when electricity and the light bulb really started to become advanced, we started losing massive amounts of sleep because of that, because we had the technologies to stay up later. And since then, we've experienced massive amounts of accelerated sickness, cancers, you name it. I hate to say it, but electricity, electromagnetic fields, radiation, and light has a lot more to do with our health due to the fact that we are supposed to be in biosync with the earth and its solar cycles than food does. Food has a huge role in all this, ladies and gentlemen, but your hormones are all out of whack. Your neurotransmitters are all out of whack. Your organs are all out of whack because of your biorhythm being taken out of alignment. This is another way. This is one of the most potent ways that we lose energy, by having our biorhythms hijacked, ladies and gentlemen, due to exposure to artificial light, which today has been weaponized in a way that is so exponentially profound that it would make your head explode if you knew just how dangerous the blue light and all the electronic light and all the cell phones, the televisions actually are. This stuff is toxic and dangerous beyond belief, because, ladies and gentlemen, not only does it keep you up late, it takes your hormones, your neurotransmitters, and your circadian rhythm and just turns them upside down. And a lot of this stuff that it just turns upside down, you can't just get back from one good night's sleep. You can't. So it's really interesting to watch, ladies and gentlemen, before we get back into alchemy, it's really interesting to watch how, as technology advances, especially within the spectrum of light-bearing technologies, television, smartphones, tablets, it's really interesting to watch, and unsettling and frightening to watch, how the statistics with health skyrocket downward. And it goes unnoticed by most. That's why you need to get out and get the sunlight on your skin. You need to clean your skin. If you've never done it before, I recommend getting a cotton ball, a few of them, and getting isopropyl alcohol, not diluting it. Clean your skin, clean your face, watch how much gunk comes off of it. I don't recommend doing this very often, maybe once a month, but chances are you've never really cleaned your skin with anything other than soap, which leaves residues, which has chemicals in it. On a nice day like today, clean your skin with some isopropyl alcohol. Go outside and absorb some sun. Maybe put some magnesium oil on your skin, some coconut oil, some vitamin E oil, and get some sun. So we really need to take light seriously, because light is what makes us lose energy massively. And if we're going to practice alchemy in the right way, we've got to address light, because alchemy is all about the acquisition of power, and we can only acquire power through the reabsorption of lost energy that we've lost, ladies and gentlemen, and that we're continuing to lose. So right now I'm barefoot on the ground, absorbing electrons from the earth. I'm getting sunshine on my face. I'm breathing cleaner air. I'm looking at the trees. All sorts of information is coming into my eyes through my photoreceptors, being filtered through the mechanisms of my eyes, going into my brain, nourishing my brain with all sorts of color saturation. See, the difference between television and nature is that when you look at a tree in bloom, ladies and gentlemen, or a beautiful bush or whatever it is, an animal out in nature, that's a meal. It's stimulating and tonifying the mechanisms in your eyes. It's sending information into your brain and translating in information from the codes that you see outside of yourself. Your eyes are just an extension of your brain. It's your brain looking outwards. When information comes into your eyes, it gets sent to the back of your head and translated into an image. We have an amazing machine that we call a human body, that when given the right food, when given the right parameters, when given the right amount of light and our biorhythms aren't fucked up, we start to experience evolution, higher states of consciousness, Gnosis. So, alchemy, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of alchemy. You had people back in the day that were known as puffers who practiced alchemy, who were obsessed with puffing fireplaces and keeping potion bottles and distilling oils and all this stuff, and always trying to find a secret elixir in some type of substance. And then you have the true alchemists, ladies and gentlemen, who were aware of the fact that the true alchemical process of transmutation is an evolution of the inner self. So alchemists of old were obsessed with transmuting metal into gold, base metals into gold. This can be taken in a literal way, and it can also be taken in a metaphoric or symbolic way. When you take lead, which is a heavy metal, ladies and gentlemen, and you transmute it into gold, that's an alchemical process of purification. Gold represents enlightenment. Gold represents the fatherly energy of God. Gold represents purity. Gold represents royalty. That's what the Kundalini energy is. So, ladies and gentlemen, the true purpose of alchemy is to raise the serpents, to raise Kundalini, because through the Kundalini raising and purifying the chakras, those are the alchemical tools, ladies and gentlemen, that are symbolically depicted as certain cauldrons and whatnot and fireplaces in alchemy, in alchemical text, are the chakras, the electromagnetic portals which tether our consciousness to God, to the angelic kingdom, to the arcane. We have the ability to raise this energy, ladies and gentlemen. The energy gathering techniques, is one of the greatest ways to begin getting back lost energy. But it's only going to work if you can exit that rational way of thinking that the Matrix has programmed you with. All of the groupthink rationality. Rationality is a dangerous thing, ladies and gentlemen. Because who defines what rational is? Unfortunately, rationality in today's Matrix, this group think tank of what people think is possible and whatnot, the rules of rationality have been ascribed by individuals who are not rational, who are not sane, who want to put you in a box and make you think that certain things are impossible, who want you to think that you're just a byproduct of slow evolution and that, you know, the universe was created by some big bang and that everything is meaningless and that chaos is the only thing in the universe. Ladies and gentlemen, you have thousands upon thousands of miles of blood vessels and veins and circulatory systems and tissues and all this amazing stuff in your system. But you're an accident? Wake up. So unfortunately, certain things that come out of my mouth are often met with the viewer's filter, rationality filter, trying to scramble the information and digest it in a way that is synonymous or relative to their rationality or their programming by the Matrix. So yeah, you might take some of the information that I say and take it at heart or think it's interesting, but it can be very difficult to apply certain principles because of how the mind has been put into a box. Most people, ladies and gentlemen, have never spent hour after hour after hour after hour after hour like I have going into my inner temple and working on my inner mind. Most people have never spent hour after hour after hour after hour working on, you know, such, for instance, the techniques or the lessons in John Crider's book Magnum Opus. Getting to know yourself, finding all of your beliefs, what your core beliefs are, ladies and gentlemen. But you want to raise Kundalini energy? It is not some A to B process. In order for us to raise this energy, we have got to literally escape the cognitive framework that's enslaving the physiological process of Kundalini from rising, because it's a synonymous, or it's a mind-body connection. And if you have belief systems that will instruct your body through your subconscious mind to not let this energy rise due to your programming, then how are you ever going to raise this energy or be open to God's embrace, God's grace? If the cognitive structures of your mind are literally like concrete that can't be broken, and you have this energy like a jackhammer trying to break through the concrete, but you won't let it budge because you've never gone into your mind and really dissected your mind and did an autopsy on your thinking processes, folks. Did a complete autopsy on, finding all of your core beliefs. This is why 2 years ago or so, when I made the first installment in the Learning the Magical Arts lesson, I talked about finding all of the good aspects of yourself and the bad aspects of yourself through introspection, through meditation, then writing them all down. Because by doing that, you finally get to know yourself better. You don't get to know yourself very well living in this matrix, ladies and gentlemen, constantly having an obligation, constantly having something to get done, a deadline, a payment, a bill, constantly having to go to family members to take care of them, or, make dinner and have the kids in bed. A lot of you guys have made bad decisions at a young age, and you've made contracts with the Matrix, and now because of the bad decisions you've made, you are locked in engagements here where you have to put massive amounts of time into certain things that you may have realized that, it's keeping you from undertaking the great work, which is raising the energy through alchemy, practicing alchemy, ladies and gentlemen. Your body is a distillation vessel, metaphorically speaking. Turn the damn distiller on. Start taking care of your health. But it's much more than just eating the right foods. It's much more than just taking chaga mushroom that I talk about frequently, and turkey tail, and taking the specific vitamins, minerals that your body needs. Those constituents support the basic framework of your physical self. But the mind is the key here, ladies and gentlemen. Your mind is the key here. You are the key to health, but through your mind, you have to turn it on. You have to turn the key. So, in metaphorically speaking, taking care of your health and doing the right thing physically, eating the right foods, minerals, vitamins, all that stuff, ladies and gentlemen, that's like putting the lock into the key. But until you do the mental work and dissect who you are and find all of your most intimate core beliefs, that key to activate the alchemical mind, the golden mind, ladies and gentlemen, has a very difficult time turning. The key are stimulating Kundalini energy. And I'm not saying that, I experienced Kundalini in my early 20s on a handful of occasions, was given massive downloads of divine information. It resided afterwards. And ever since then, I've been resaturating my body with minerals and doing everything I can to create the right parameters for the Kundalini to rise again. And I've reached some really interesting conclusions, and I've had amazing experiences since then, where I've gotten pretty close to having this energy start to spark. I've had multiple experiences with samadhi, with nirvana, but those are completely different than enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen. I've had massive amounts of confirmation on the way. I've been thrown into altered states of consciousness in a completely sober context ever since my Kundalini awakenings, once they stopped, from my early 20s to now I'm almost 31 now. But since then, ladies and gentlemen, I've been given massive amounts of confirmation from my body that I'm at least going in the right direction to take care of my health. Every once in a while, I'll reach what's known as Devikut, or I'll reach certain states where I'm just thrown into a much more expansive interaction with the electromagnetic spectrum due to the fact that I'm taking the minerals. I'm doing the mental work, ladies and gentlemen. Get the Shilajit back into your system, get the turkey tail into your system, and then start reading John Kreider's books like I've been telling you all along. Overcoming the Archon through Alchemy, magnum opus, is a great one. It's a little expensive, $20 for the ebook, $40 for the physical copy, but can you really put a price on the amount of knowledge that you can get from these alchemical books? The cool thing, ladies and gentlemen, about magnum opus, which is his newest volume, is that it's like a textbook, it's like a workbook, it's like a school course. You work in little increments and you document your progress as you go along. These are tools that you can use to keep you accountable. Having a step-by-step course in tandem with my videos and whatnot, I do these videos for inspiration, can really benefit you, in my opinion. Taking John Kreider's work, taking my work, taking little bits and pieces of everybody that you enjoy watching that has a beneficial message, and then using that in tandem with your own biofield and your own desires, your own unique qualities, use that as a propellant to grow into something greater. So I'm going to sit out here and I'm doing Cossacks breathing right now, ladies and gentlemen, envisioning and imagining energy coming from the center of the earth right into the tip of my Cossacks. I'm visualizing it right now, going up my spine, going into my organs, rejuvenating them. There's a great book called The Inner Smile by Montauk Chia, I believe his name is. It's like 90 pages. That's a really interesting book on energy work, ladies and gentlemen. To the Taoists, and that's a book about Taoist healing. To the Taoists, they're all about alchemy, ladies and gentlemen. The whole premise of Taoism is alchemy. And the original Taoists, who were energetic vampires to a large extent, they were always reaccumulating energy, reabsorbing energy, taking energy from trees, from the world around them, and then containing it through specific exercises so that all the energy that you bring into your system doesn't get lost. Bringing energy into your system is crucial, but integrating it and keeping it in your system is just as important. Otherwise, you lose what you've brought in. But ladies and gentlemen, the original alchemists, they developed many of these energetic techniques of reabsorption because they became privy to the fact that there were hierarchies of predatory non-organic beings that were feeding on humanity and using them as a fuel source. Alchemy, ladies and gentlemen, is not only an evolutionary tool of self-evolution, it's a safety mechanism, it's a protection, it's the word I'm looking for. It's like, let's let the wind past, folks. It's a self-defense system. Once you realize that your energy is being stolen from you and given to something else, and that we're like cattle being led into slaughter, you'll understand what I'm saying here, folks. Work on your visualization. Right now, as you hear the wind, try to feel the wind hitting your face. Can you feel it? Visualization in imagination, and being able to visualize on a tactile level, on a physical level, being able to visualize sensations. All of this stuff is crucial if you're going to start doing the energetic exercises, ladies and gentlemen. But if you read Montauk Chia's book, The Inner Smile, he goes on to talk about how when we're stressed, when we're angry, when we have certain energetic afflictions like that, it causes our organs to either accumulate too much chi or become deficient in chi. And that causes the organs to drain, ladies and gentlemen. Then you have organ drainage, you have chi drainage. Taoist philosophy, which is basically like the foundation of traditional Chinese medicine and basically like the mother of acupuncture and multiple other healing systems, they are constantly talking about energy, chi, and that's the foundation of true health. You can take all the vitamins, minerals, you can do all the exercise in the world, but if you're an angry person with a bunch of hate engrams in your heart, you are losing massive amounts of energy from your heart. Inner Smile is an awesome book. It teaches you how to smile at your internal organs, ladies and gentlemen, which to the traditional Chinese medicine system, there's 5 main organs. Or there's five main organs tied into the 5 elements. They incorporate wood and metal, I believe, as an elemental system, whereas in the West it's air, fire, water, and earth. I think theirs is wood, fire, metal. I can't remember them all off the top of my bat. It's top of my head. It's an interesting system, though, folks. Montauk Chia, Inner Smile. That book also teaches you about the 6 healing sounds. Alchemy is all about having fun with all of this and not being so stressed. Alchemy is all about, ladies and gentlemen, realizing that you can use every moment that you spend wasting time doing stupid bullshit, you could use all of that time working on your energy reabsorption techniques, doing things like the crane exercise that I talk about, doing specific yoga poses, doing Kundalini yoga, yogic left nostril or right nostril solar and lunar breathing. We have to learn to use our time wisely. But the core of alchemy, ladies and gentlemen, and the main principle of it, or the main reason we do this, is the distillation of spirit and body and the fusing of those two. And that happens when the Kundalini rises. So alchemy is largely about purifying the tissues, purifying the body, purifying the mind, so that the body and the mind can be a proper vessel for the Lord to reside in, ladies and gentlemen, which is the Kundalini energy, which tethers us to the Christ consciousness energy, and then through the Christ energy we know God, the Absolute. And then we tap into the electromagnetic spectrum. Then we can see the truth of nature. Then we can see all of the hierarchies of energies around us in our own energetic field, and we can also see all of the non-organic beings, the ancestors, the angels, as well as, and but not limited to, the predatory non-organic beings that are currently hijacking humanity and using Earth as a prison cell where you have a few specific rights, the right to travel, blah, 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 get married and all this other surface level nonsense. But behind all of that and out of your awareness, due to the repositioning of your assemblage point, your energy is being stolen and used on Earth, the farm, by the archon and his many emissaries. The archon is an extra-dimensional, hyper-intelligent, off-world intelligence that has imposed its consciousness into the soul of humanity through specific spiritual impregnation. It resides in your consciousness as your ego. This is why humanity is so stupid right now and caught up in nonsense. We have aspects of the archon, the demiurge, also known as cosmic creator to the great Greeks. We have aspects of its consciousness impregnated into our soul, into our psyche. Because of how we were created, because of our molding, because of the electromagnetic field, or all the radiation, there's a handful of different mechanisms of how this entity has imposed itself into us. But due to the fact that it resides within us on an omnipresent level in our psyche, in our ego, every time we do certain things that are beneficial to that energy, to the archon's energy, it gets fed directly into the archon through the spiritual technologies that I talked about earlier in this video, because it resides in an omnipresent fashion in your psyche, so it's constantly aware of what you're doing. This is what the Christians call Satan. even though I have mixed opinions about that. Pretty much every religion, I mean, you have Mara in Buddhism, the demon. You have hierarchies of demons in Buddhism, actually, ladies and gentlemen, in multiple different levels of hell and whatnot. But in pretty much every religion that I know of, there's always a protagonist, there's always an evil character. And that evil character, oftentimes, often it's misrepresented because of how the religions have been handed down through corrupt priesthoods. But at the core of its symbolism and archetypical value, ladies and gentlemen, it represents the demiurge and the impregnation in our mind and how it exists within us. Why do you think Christians will tell you that the devil can always hear you? It's always out to tempt you. It's because it's a part of us. It's become a part of us. But through alchemy, we distill this energy out of us. Because through alchemy, ladies and gentlemen, we come into contact with our own personal core values, our own personal core belief systems through personal self-mental exorcism. But you're not going to want to do that. And once you find your core beliefs, ladies and gentlemen, it'll naturally expose you to, during the process of trying to locate your core beliefs, it'll show you how many of your beliefs are not your own and how they have been implanted into you by the archon, through culture, through multiple different methods. But you'll never get to this point if you refuse to do the mental work. And the people don't want to do the mental work. It agitates people. It makes them upset to sit down and try to be still, to try to meditate. Because of how we've been programmed to always be going, going, going. And the archon, the demiurge doesn't want you to discover yourself, ladies and gentlemen. The demiurge, cosmic creator, Adaldaboth, whatever you want to call it, doesn't want you to come to know yourself. It wants you to be stupid, dumb, and happy during all of it. So that upon your cessation or your death, your entropy, you can get recycled back through the light and be implanted like a starseed back here in this dimension, here on the Earth farm. If you knew how brilliant the human electromagnetic field, the aura, was, ladies and gentlemen, you would know you would understand exactly what I meant when I said that the human being is an energy source. Just like the light contained within a light bulb is energy contained within a light bulb. If you we emit energy just like a light bulb, folks. It's different, it's much more complicated, but we have multiple layers of energy that can be fed on. What do you think they were trying to say in the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen, when they would hijack people's bodies? They were using people's bodies and the energy produced off their bodies to fuel things. The same thing is going on here in the Matrix, folks. So I'm going to wrap this one up. I'm starting to get a headache from too much sun. Alchemy is all about transmutation. It's all about you becoming a purified entity through your actions, mental and physical. Start with John Kreider's books, read through or watch my videos, start working on yourself. And always understand that Kundalini is not just some mechanism that you turn on. We have to exercise the mental demons before we can get close to this energy. I'm going to wrap it up. Get the Shilajit into your system, ladies and gentlemen. Get the minerals back into your system. Flood your mind with positivity. Do the energy gathering techniques. I'm going to sit out here I'm going to go into the shade for about 10 minutes and literally sit in the shade and absorb energy. One thing that you can do, and this may sound crazy, but on the light of a full moon, ladies and gentlemen, in a secret undisclosed or a secret location, in the light of a full moon, you dig a giant hole in some somewhat moist but not wet dirt, deep as you can. Just be safe, and you lay in it, and you do the visualization techniques, and you let the telluric kingdom, the minerals of the earth, recalibrate and reactivate and heal and cleanse your electromagnetics. We'll talk about that in the near future. Peace be with you.
I wanted to personally thank you for watching my videos and contributing to the growth of my channel. I could not do this without you, and your interest in my content is truly what motivates me and fuels my passion for making these videos and spreading my message. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I wanted to remind you that this channel is a free educational tool that is listener supported, and if you would like to donate to my channel and donate to my cause, help make my life a little bit easier and help keep the lights on around here, you can do so by checking out the links in the description box below. There's a handful of not only ways to donate to my channel, but I also have links to different websites and different videos of mine, as well as my Amazon store, where you can check out a plethora of different health-related products that I use and recommend. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for your continued interest in my message, and until next time, peace be with you all.